So how I bought a portfolio of 4 properties, and I've got no cash left in this deal coming up. Welcome back, I'm Marco, I'm a property investor, developer and mentor. And today I'm going to talk to you a bit about my portfolio and some of my property acquisitions, and especially this specific one where I purchased a row of 4 houses, 4 freehold houses, a part portfolio back in 2019, and I've got no cash left in this deal now. So I was supposed to be flying today, I'm supposed to be in Antwerp, Belgium, but I'm not, I'm in Leeds. The weather this morning was absolutely atrocious, there was a lot of mist, which wasn't in the forecast, and it meant that we couldn't actually take off. So I've got a free day now, and I thought, well, what's better to film a few videos about property investing, but more specifically my deals and my acquisitions and my purchases going back in the past 10 years. And again, I've done no planning, no prep for this. I'm just really going to freestyle it and tell you all the figures and the facts and some of my property portfolio acquisitions that have really helped me leapfrog from, one property all the way to 24 plus properties, depending on when you're watching this. This is recorded in 2023. So yeah, no suit, shirt or tie today, in casuals today. I was hoping to be in Belgium, but maybe we'll postpone this flight another week. So let's get into this particular deal. So I'll tell you first of all what it was. I think I came across this in 2019. It's essentially a row of 4 houses, all freehold, sold by the same seller in a single transaction. So they're essentially offloading part of their portfolio. They were raising funds for the refurbishment of another development that they have going on. So I came across this, actually surprisingly enough, on Rightmove. And back then in 2019, it was fairly easy to come across portfolios and part portfolios for sale on Rightmove without that much competition. So again, I remember viewing the property, and it didn't sound like there was much competition. There were no other people, viewing the property when I was there, and it felt relatively laid back. Whereas if you try and do this nowadays, there's so much competition and everyone's fighting to acquire a portfolio or part portfolio. Even at the mid-level, buying say 6, 7, 8 properties, something like that, there still is some competition, whereas 4 or 5 years ago, it really wasn't. So this property was on the market, if I recall rightly, for around £350,000 by some local agents. So yeah, I went to view the property. I was really happy with what I saw. If I remember rightly, all 4 properties had recently been renovated in 2017, and I was viewing these in 2019. So don't get me wrong, they weren't brand new, but certainly they were, in a good nick. Very little needed doing in terms of actual work to the property. The rents were a little on the low side, so obviously me as an investor, that's quite a good thing, because I knew I could add value by negotiating rent increases either with the current tenants or once those existing tenants vacated. So I liked what I saw, and we agreed on a purchase price for the whole 4 at £340,000, and I was financing this with a 75% mortgage. And back then rates were really attractive and really low. I think I acquired this particular acquisition on an interest rate less than 3% interest only, so really great rates that unfortunately we can't get today in 2023. So we got into the legal part of the process, everything was going smooth. Then when it came on to the mortgages, I was hoping to get a mortgage on all 4 properties from just a single lender, the same lender in effect. And we approached a very mainstream buy-to-let lender, and they could only lend on 3 of the 4 properties because they had such a high concentration of properties within that postcode of which they had lent money and taken a charge on, that they weren't willing to lend on more than 3 properties within this small area. So they could only lend on 3 of the 4. It sounds quite silly, but that's just how it works. So we had to actually find a different lender for that final 4th property. Now, because of this, essentially there were 2 separate transactions. 3 of the properties were going through at one time, and the last remaining property was going through again separately. So when it came to the legal work, the company selling this property asked for a small contribution towards the additional legal costs. I mean, really, is it that much time? I don't think so. But I was getting such a good deal that I just wanted to complete on this deal, because my plans for these property in the future, as we'll come on to very shortly, was far greater than losing out on this deal for, say, I think it was £700 or something into that effect. Me as a more experienced investor 4 or 5 years down the line, would I have agreed still to pay this figure? I think I probably would have, and especially knowing how much money these properties made me, and which I'll come on to very shortly. So yeah, I think I still would have paid this fee. Okay, it's slightly annoying, but the properties were really really, really profitable, and I'll come on to describe the figures very shortly. So let's fast forward. We've completed on the property. It was all very, very quick. I think it happened in about 5 or 6 weeks. So, you can actually complete in property within 5 or 6 weeks with a standard buy-to-let mortgage if your power team is, experienced and, submitting applications and responding to inquiries in a timely manner, things of that nature. So that's something just to be conscious of. So yeah, fast forward, picked up the keys, and this was more or less a turnkey investment because the properties were already rented out, but as I've already alluded to, the rents were on the low side. So, I spoke to a couple of the tenants, a few of them were thinking of leaving anyway, and this was just naturally a good time to wait until they've left and advertise the property at a new market level rent. So that's exactly what I did, and over the years, I've slowly been getting new tenants in the building paying market level. There's still, in one of the properties, the existing tenant from when I purchased this in 2019, they've been really good, and they are, to be honest, paying a slightly below market value rent, but they're great tenants. I literally, can't fault them in any way, shape or form, and I don't mind giving that property to them a slight discount, for their long-term business, and, essentially they're looking after the property as well. So that, I really don't mind doing that. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm valuing a tenant, or a good tenant, shall I say, far more than what I did in the past. And what I mean by this is, when the cost of living crisis actually kicks in, tenants start questioning, my income is more or less being the same, or maybe it's being squeezed, but my costs are increasing significantly, and they're going to look at their outgoings and think about what they need to cut and what they can no longer afford to pay. And I don't want my rent to be one of those things. So this is why I'm more open to, say, giving a really good tenant a slight discount to the market value if they've been a great tenant, and hopefully that suggests that going forward they're going to be a great tenant too. So a nice thing about this is it allows them to maintain their standard of living and not drop their standard of living because, costs have increased. So when I purchased these block of 4 properties, I fixed my mortgage for 2 years. So let's fast forward, more or less 2 years, and I refinanced this property at obviously a higher level. Now, because you buy in bulk, typically you get, again, a discount to the individual market value. So if you've got those 4 properties, split them up into their individual properties and add all those values together, normally as an investor buying in bulk, you'll get a slight discount. And this is exactly what I managed to negotiate when I purchased these properties. So I knew when I came to remortgage them in 2 years' time, I could actually remortgage them based on the individual values, not the lesser discounted price I purchased them for. Now, of course, for those of you in property between 2019 and 2021, you will know that prices and values of property in general over the UK has increased significantly within those 2 years. So of course, not only was I benefiting from capital appreciation, but I was benefiting from valuing these properties independently. And thirdly, I was also benefiting because I'd increased the rent within these 2 years, which again is one way on how lenders will value the property. So I was very confident that I could ask for a figure up here when I purchased the properties for down here. Now, the nice thing about this was when the refinance was completed and I switched to the new mortgage, which is a 5-year fix, and this was just before rates started to increase, so again I got a really good deal. I didn't pull out all my cash in that instance, but I pulled out the majority of my cash. So let me go over the figures. So yes, these 4 properties were purchased for £340,000. Now if you work out a 25% deposit, that's £85,000. With all the other fees and stamp duty, all in cash was about £100,000. Okay, so fast forward 2 years, and obviously the value has increased, and I was asking for a loan of £345,000 for the new mortgage. Now again, I purchased this for £340,000 in the first instance 2 years prior to this. So this gives you an idea of the cash that I've got left in this deal, and I'll come on to this now. So essentially I pulled out about 90k cash by refinancing, which leaves me about £10,000 cash left in the deal. Not too bad, hey? Well, the lovely thing about this property is the rental income, and once you account for the rental income across these 4 properties, all my cash is well out this deal, because when I purchased these 4 properties, the rent I was receiving was £2,300 per month. Now, of course, you need to manage off the mortgage and you need to manage off any maintenance, but I'm just giving you headline rental figures. Now, fast forward to today, the rent from these 4 properties are £2,900. So again, I was able to increase the rents in line with market value, and one of those tenants, as I've already mentioned, is paying below market value too. So whenever he decides to vacate the property, these 4 properties will be bringing in around £3,000 in rent every single month, minus the mortgage costs. costs minus the maintenance and things of that nature. So this is a really good investment, which is netting me around £2,000 profit per month. So this is how I managed to buy 4 houses, to buy a part portfolio, buy a row of houses, and then 2 years down the line from that, more or less have all my cash out this deal. And essentially, just to recap, these are the 3 ways how I did this. First of all, obviously I bought the property at a discount. So this, this applies to anything. If you're buying a portfolio or even just a single property, if you're buying that property at a discount, or in other words, below market value, then this is a great tool to protect yourself, because not only if prices fall are you protecting yourself and you have a margin of safety, but when it comes to refinancing, you can ask the property to be valued at the market value and not the lower purchase price of which you purchased a property for, say, 2 or 5 years ago. Now, another thing that I did here is I let time do its magic. Property prices tend to increase in the long term over time, and I was very lucky in the respect that between 2019 and 2021, property prices in general had increased, and in this particular area had actually skyrocketed. And the third thing, as I've already mentioned, is rents. I increase the rents in line with the market value, which again helps increase the value of the property. So these are the 3 tips that I'm giving to you today. If you're looking to buy a property, if you can hit all these 3 metrics and these 3 variables, then great. It sounds like you've got a really good deal under your belt. Even if you can only hit 2 of these, it's most likely going to be a great deal and the math is going to work. So this is how I own a row of 4 houses, essentially for free. I've got no money left in those properties, and they're generating a very good net income on a monthly basis once you minus the mortgage and once you minus the maintenance. And I'm really looking forward to the future for these properties, because when I got these properties valued in 2021, I didn't max these valuations. I was very conservative on my figures. And if you look at the valuations of these properties now in 2023, well, they've gone up another £80,000 to what they were in 2021 as a collective, as a group of 4. So again, I've got a lot of margin of safety in this deal. When it comes to remortgaging, say, in another 4.5 years, I'm very confident that I'll be able to pull even more cash out, providing rates are reasonable. I can invest that cash into the next deal. So, if you're struggling to scale and to fast track a property portfolio, maybe you've got a couple of properties and you're not sure how to best get from A to B. Now, this could take you 10 or 20 years by yourself, but working with me, it's going to take you maybe 2 years. So, this is why you should consider bringing a mentor on board who has experience in scaling property portfolios from, say, 1 to 20 units within a matter of months and years, not decades. So if that's what you're looking for, head to my website www.ms7.uk and book in a call with me. I'm very passionate about helping people scale portfolios. Don't make the same mistakes that I did and other people have made. Learn from our experience. Utilize our skill set, utilize our knowledge, and fast track your property portfolio. So I hope you've got value from today's video, and as you know, every Tuesday and Thursday I release a full length video at 2 o'clock, so do stay tuned for that. And please do consider subscribing to the channel. YouTube tells me the majority of people watching this channel are not subscribed. So do me a favor, it does mean a lot to me. Please do consider subscribing. And as you know, we've got a competition going on. So once we get 10,000 subscribers, one of you at random will be joining me in the cockpit, and we'll be flying over Leeds, over Yorkshire together and having an amazing flight. So I wish you all the best with your property investing day. Take care.